The Man in the Shadows, Unraveling the Mystery. Valeria's breath came in shallow gasps as she fled into the night, the memory of the chilling encounter still fresh in her mind. The figure in the house, the sinister voice, the malevolent eyes. She couldn't shake the image. Who was he? And what role did he play in the dark conspiracy surrounding Lucía Méndez's disappearance? Determined to uncover the truth, Valeria spent the next few days investigating the identity of the mysterious man. She pored over old documents, searched through public records, and followed every lead, no matter how obscure. Her efforts began to pay off when she found a clue linking the man to a psychiatric institution that had closed abruptly years ago. The institution, known as Santa Lucía Psychiatric Facility, had once been a prominent mental health center. It had a reputation for innovative treatment, but was also shrouded in rumors of unethical practices. Valeria's heart raced as she realized the significance of this connection. Could the man in the shadows have been involved in the experiments conducted at the institution? Determined to find out more, Valeria visited the local archives to search for records related to Santa Lucía Psychiatric Facility. The archives were a treasure trove of information, but sifting through the vast amount of documents was a daunting task. Valeria's fingers trembled with anticipation as she unearthed old patient records, staff rosters, and newspaper articles. One name kept appearing in the records, Dr. Alejandro Vargas. He had been one of the leading psychiatrists at the facility and was known for his controversial methods. Valeria's pulse quickened as she recalled the name from Lucía's journal. Could Dr. Alejandro Vargas be the man in the shadows? As Valeria delved deeper, she uncovered a series of disturbing reports about the institution. Patients had been subjected to experimental treatments, many of which had dire consequences. The facility had abruptly closed in the late 1980s, following a scandal involving the disappearance of several patients. The official explanation had been vague, but the truth seemed far more sinister. Valeria's investigation led her to contact former employees of Santa Lucía Psychiatric Facility. Most were reluctant to speak, their voices tinged with fear and suspicion. But one former nurse, Maria, agreed to meet with Valeria in a quiet cafe. Her hands shook as she recounted her experiences. Dr. Vargas was a brilliant man, but he was consumed by his ambition, Maria whispered, glancing around nervously. He believed he could cure mental illness through radical treatments, but his methods were extreme. Maria described how patients had been subjected to electroshock therapy, chemical restraints, and sensory deprivation. The experiments had been conducted in secret with little oversight. Those who questioned Dr. Vargas's methods had been silenced or dismissed. Lucía was one of his patients, Maria continued, her voice trembling. She was a bright young girl, but the treatments changed her. She started seeing things, hearing voices. She tried to escape, but they always brought her back. Valeria's heart ached as she listened to Maria's account. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but the picture they painted was horrifying. Dr. Vargas had used the patients at Santa Lucía as test subjects, and Lucía had been one of his victims. Determined to find concrete evidence, Valeria decided to visit the abandoned psychiatric facility. The building stood as a haunting relic of the past, its windows boarded up and its walls covered in graffiti. The air was thick with the scent of decay and neglect. Valeria pushed open the rusted gate and made her way inside. The interior was dark and foreboding, the only light coming from her flashlight. She navigated the labyrinthine corridors, her footsteps echoing through the empty halls. The oppressive silence was broken only by the distant sound of dripping water. Her search led her to an old office which she believed had once belonged to Dr. Vargas. The room was filled with dusty files, broken furniture, and remnants of medical equipment. Valeria's hands trembled as she rifled through the documents, searching for anything that could tie Dr. Vargas to the conspiracy. Her heart skipped a beat when she found a hidden compartment in the desk. Inside was a stack of journals, filled with Dr. Vargas's handwritten notes. The entries detailed his experiments, his methods, and his obsession with controlling the human mind. One entry in particular stood out. September 15, 1987. Patient LM exhibits increased resistance to treatment. Unusual sensory experiences reported. Hallucinations, voices, further investigation required. Potential breakthrough in mind control techniques. Valeria's blood ran cold as she realized the significance of the entry. Lucía Mendez had been patient LM, and Dr. Vargas's experiments had pushed her to the brink of madness. But Lucia's strength had allowed her to resist, and she had uncovered the truth about the facility. Armed with the damning evidence, Valeria knew she had to act quickly. She documented everything, making sure to secure multiple copies of the journals. She also took photographs of the abandoned facility, capturing the haunting remnants of Dr. Vargas's experiments. Valeria's mind raced with questions. Who else had been involved in the conspiracy? How far did the network of corruption and deceit extend? She knew that exposing the truth would be dangerous, but she couldn't let fear stop her. As she left the facility, Valeria felt a renewed sense of resolve. The man in the shadows had tried to silence her, but she had uncovered his dark secrets. The journey ahead would be perilous, but she was ready to face it with unwavering determination. The echoes of Lucia's voice guided her, urging her to see this through to the end. The truth had been buried for too long, but now it was within her grasp. Valeria Rivas would bring light to the darkness, no matter the cost.